The warlord's flagship descended through Earth's atmosphere like a blade through silk. Vextara, supreme commander of the Tyrillian Armada, stood at the observation deck watching cities burn below. Her 4 arms hung at her sides, claws retracted but ready. 300 worlds had knelt before her. Earth would be 301. Majesty. Her chief strategist approached, mandibles clicking nervously. The human defensive grid is down. Ground forces report scattered resistance only. Vexthara's eyes, all 6 of them, narrowed. Scattered resistance is how empires fall, Krell. Never underestimate prey that still has teeth. The ship shuddered as it landed in what had been New Geneva's central district. Vextara descended the ramp flanked by her royal guard, warriors bred for one purpose: violence perfected. The air tasted of ash and something else. Fear, perhaps, or defiance. She could never quite tell them apart. Buildings stood broken like shattered bones. Her forces had done their work well. Too well. The streets were empty except for debris and the occasional flicker of movement in the shadows. Vexthara had learned to trust those flickers.
They usually meant ambush.
Sweet patterns. Full-spectrum scans. She gestured with 2 hands while the other 2 rested on her plasma blades. I want every human within 5 kilometers catalogued. The guard dispersed like liquid metal, their armor adapting to the urban terrain. Vextara walked alone. Her preference. Her power play. A commander who fears nothing needs no shield wall. She found the first body 3 blocks in. Human. Female. Young. Clutching something small and wrapped in burned cloth. Vexthara stopped, tilted her head. Not out of respect. Curiosity. The body was positioned deliberately, carefully, as if someone had tried to protect it even in death. Majesty, we have movement. Subsurface level approximately 40 meters ahead. Vexthara's hand went to her blade. Show me. The building before her had been some kind of medical facility. Half collapsed, still smoking. Her scanner showed thermal signatures below ground. Multiple. Not attacking. Hiding. She descended through a shattered stairwell, her natural low-light vision making torches unnecessary. The bunker beneath was crude but functional. Emergency lighting flickered. She counted 12 heat signatures. No, 13. One much smaller than the others. Come out. Her voice resonated through the chamber, translated by her neural implant into their primitive language. Show yourselves or my guards will extract you in pieces. Silence. Then footsteps. Slow, deliberate. A human emerged from behind a collapsed wall. Male. Tall for their species, wearing what looked like combat fatigues, but his hands were empty, raised. I'm unarmed, he said. His voice was steady. Vexthara respected that. Most species wept by now. You're alone? She knew he wasn't. The game was in, watching him choose between truth and survival. No. Refugees. Doctors. Civilians. He paused. Children. Vexthara's middle eyes focused on him while her outer eyes scanned the shadows. Children are future soldiers. You know what I do with future soldiers. I know what you've done to 300 worlds. The human she needed a designation for him. Her combat computer supplied it. SSG Marcus Webb, human military, decorated, age 37, stepped forward slightly. I know you don't leave resistance. I know you're thorough. Then you know this conversation is pointless. Maybe, Webb lowered his hand slowly, or maybe you're curious why we're still here instead of running. Vexthara was curious, annoyingly so. Speak quickly. There's a girl, 8 years old. Name's Aisha. She's diabetic. Needs insulin every 4 hours, or she dies. Webb's jaw tightened. We had a supply in the hospital above. Your bombardment buried it under 3 tons of rubble. Survival of the fittest doesn't include the weak. Survival of the fittest is what animals believe. Webb's eyes met hers. All 6 of them. Most humans couldn't do that. Civilization is what happens when we choose differently. Civilization, Vexthara felt her crest flare, a biological response to challenge. I've conquered civilizations. They all say the same thing before they kneel or die. Then you've never met one worth the name. The blow should have killed him. Vexthara moved faster than human eyes could track, one of her lower hands catching Webb by the throat, lifting him off the ground. His feet dangled. His face turned red. He didn't struggle. Give me one reason, she hissed, why I shouldn't crush your windpipe and burn everyone in this bunker. She loosened her grip just enough. Because, he rasped, you're curious what mercy looks like. He landed hard, coughing. She could hear movement in the shadows now, others preparing to rush forward, to die for this fool. She raised a hand, stopping her guards who'd appeared at the stairwell. "Show me the girl." You didn't ask why. Smart. He simply turned and walked deeper into the bunker. Vexthara followed, her weapons ready, her mind calculating angles and kill zones out of habit. The girl sat against a wall wrapped in a thermal blanket, her skin too pale, lips slightly blue. A woman knelt beside her. Doctor, based on her posture and the crude medical kit open nearby. The child's eyes opened as they approached. Wide. Dark. Terrified but trying not to show it. Brave, like Webb. Perhaps it was genetic. "How long?" Vexthara asked the doctor. The woman's hand shook. "She's in early ketoacidosis, maybe 6 hours before organ failure. Maybe less." "And the insulin is where?" Webb pointed up. "Northwest corner of the building. Pharmacy level, storage room 3. If it survived. Krell. Northwest corner, pharmacy level. Bring me storage room 3. Everything in it. You have 5 minutes. Majesty?" Her strategist's confusion crackled through. "We're conducting war sweeps, not salvages." 4 minutes, 50 seconds. The line went dead. Vexthara looked at the girl, who was staring at her with something that wasn't quite fear anymore. Recognition, maybe. Understanding that monsters have choices, too. "What's your designation?" Vexthara asked, using their word for it. "Name." "Aisha." The girl's voice was small but clear. "Are you going to kill us?" Honest question. Vexthara appreciated that. "I haven't decided." "Oh." Aisha considered this with the strange logic of children. "Then can you decide after we know if the medicine is still okay?" "It seems weird to kill me if I'm just going to die anyway." The doctor made a sound between a laugh and a sob. Vexthara felt something in her chest cavity shift. Not pain. Something older. Something she'd thought 300 worlds had burned out of her. "Your species," she said slowly, "is either very brave or very stupid." "Probably both," Aisha agreed. "That's what my teacher said before the bombs came." The comm crackled. "Majesty, we've located storage room 3. Multiple containers intact. Requesting clarification on..." "Immediately, but the sweep protocols..." Vexthara sat down. It was such an unusual action that her armor took a moment to adjust, joints recalibrating. She was eye level with Aisha now, this tiny human with her defective genes and unreasonable courage. "Tell me about your teacher," Vexthara said. And in the ruins of a conquered world, surrounded by the smell of ash and death, the alien queen who had destroyed 300 civilizations listened to a dying child talk about homework and lunch periods, and a dog named Charlie who could do tricks. Webb watched from the shadows, his hand still on his throat, wondering if he'd just witnessed a miracle or simply postponed an execution. The answer came running down the stairs 4 minutes later. Krell appeared, breathing hard, carrying 3 sealed containers. Majesty, the insulin. Multiple vials. Refrigeration units still functional. Exaban demanded. Her suit's sensors confirmed viability. She handed it to the doctor, who stared at it like it was a hallucination. "Administer the treatment," Vexthara commanded. The doctor's hands still shook as she loaded a syringe. Webb helped steady her. They worked together with the practiced efficiency of people who'd done this many times before. The injection took seconds. Aisha winced but didn't cry out. "She'll need monitoring," the doctor said quietly. "Blood sugar checks every hour. Another dose in 4 hours, probably IV fluids." "Then monitor her?" Vexthara stood. "My forces will secure this location. Any of my soldiers who enter this bunker without authorization will be executed. You have medical supplies now. Use them." Made it 3 steps before Aisha's voice stopped her. "Thank you." Simple. Sincere. Vexthara had received the surrender of emperors, the tribute of star systems, the worship of entire civilizations. None of it had ever sounded like this. "Don't thank me yet, child. The night is long and I am still deciding." But as Vexthara climbed back to the surface, past the rubble and the bodies and the smoking ruins of human ambition, she activated her fleet-wide comm with an order that would echo through the Tyrillian Empire for generations. "All forces, immediate ceasefire, establish defensive perimeter only. No offensive actions without my direct command. Violators will be executed." Krell appeared at her side within moments, mandibles clicking in agitation. "Majesty, The attack protocols are suspended, but the subjugation timetable is irrelevant. Vexthara looked at her chief strategist, all six eyes hard as diamond. I am observing something I have not seen in 300 worlds. I will understand it before I destroy it. To counterattack? Vexthara's crest flared fully, a display of absolute authority. Then we will fight them as warriors instead of exterminators. And I will finally learn what makes this species different from all the others who knelt or died. She looked back at the ruined medical facility, where in the bunker below, a child was slowly returning from the edge of death because a soldier had asked for mercy and a queen had chosen to listen. Or perhaps, Vexthara said softly, I will learn what I have become and whether that is something that can be changed. Neither did the assembled guard, their weapons ready but unused, their programming clear but their commander suddenly opaque. Above them, the Tyrillian fleet hung in orbit like a clenched fist. Below them, humanity held its breath, wounded but unbroken, terrified but still capable of hope. And in the space between conquest and mercy, between 300 dead worlds and one that refused to die quietly, something new began to grow. Vexthara felt it like a seed in stone, impossible but undeniable. She had come to destroy. She had found a girl who needed insulin and a soldier who believed civilization was a choice. Now she would discover if a warlord could learn what it meant to choose differently. The night was long, the decision unmade, the future unwritten. But for the first time in 300 worlds, Vexthara, supreme commander of the Tyrillian armada, destroyer of empires, subjugator of stars, felt something she had thought long dead. Doubt. And in doubt, the first glimmer of something even more dangerous. Possibility. Webb emerged from the bunker an hour later to find the street transformed. Tyrillian soldiers had established a perimeter, but they faced outward, not in. Automated drones were clearing rubble. A field medical station was being erected with brutal efficiency. Vexthara stood in the center of it all, directing her forces with hand signals and short commands. She saw Webb and gestured him forward. The child's condition? Stabilizing? Dr. Eve says she'll need 24 hours of monitoring, but the immediate crisis is past. Webb's training told him to maintain distance, stay formal. His instincts told him this moment was too fragile for protocol. Why are you doing this? I don't know. Vexthara's honesty surprised them both. I have conquered species more advanced than yours. Civilizations with technology that would seem like magic to humans. None of them offered me what you offered in that bunker. Which was? A question I couldn't answer. She turned to face him fully. I told the girl I was deciding, but I realize I don't know what I'm deciding between anymore. Webb looked at the organized chaos around them, soldiers who'd been burning his world an hour ago now protecting a makeshift hospital. You could have just killed us. It would have been simpler. Simpler, yes, but I have chosen the simple path 300 times. It led me here, to a world that should have fallen in days, but instead produced a soldier who negotiates with insulin and a child who asks monsters to wait before killing her. Vexthara's crest lowered, a gesture Webb's neural database tagged as contemplation or uncertainty. Your species fights differently than others. We fight for each other, not just for ourselves, I've noticed. She gestured to the medical station. Bring the others up. Anyone who needs treatment. My medical officers will assist your doctor. Your medical officers won't know human physiology. Then your doctor will teach them. Knowledge exchange is more useful than corpses. Vexthara paused. Usually, he suspected the queen couldn't either. What happens when morning comes? I don't know that either. Vexthara looked toward the eastern horizon, where dawn was still hours away. But I know what won't happen. I won't order the execution of a child I just saved. That would be wasteful and illogical. You could say the same about everyone in that bunker, everyone in this city, everyone on this planet. I could. Vexthara met his eyes again. Do you have more children down there? More people with conditions requiring treatment? Hundreds, maybe thousands across the city if anyone else survived. Then bring them. The order came sharp, military. Bring them all. My forces will protect this location. Any human who needs medical assistance will receive it. That's a direct contradiction of your invasion doctrine. Yes, it is. Vexthara's mandibles formed something that might have been a smile on a different face. I am Supreme Commander. I can contradict myself if I choose. The question is whether anyone will follow contradictory orders. As if summoned, Krell appeared again, his agitation visible in every clicking joint. Majesty, the fleet commanders are requesting clarification. Multiple reports of human survivors in other districts. Current protocols require elimination. Your new orders contradict standing directives. Tell them the standing directives are suspended pending my review. Vexthara's voice cut like a blade. Tell them the Supreme Commander is conducting strategic assessment. Tell them that any commander who takes independent action against civilians will be relieved of command and tried for insubordination. Tell them I am still deciding what this world is worth. And what is it worth, Majesty? I don't know yet. That's what I'm assessing. She turned back to Webb. You have 12 hours. Bring everyone who needs help. After that, I will have made my decision. And if your decision is to resume the attack, then you'll have 12 hours more life than you expected. Vexthara's honesty was brutal, and 12 hours is long enough to learn whether mercy is weakness or strength. Webb wanted to argue, to negotiate for more time, to do something other than accept the temporary reprieve, but he recognized something in the alien queen's posture, the way she held herself against her own soldiers' expectations. She was balancing on an edge as sharp as any he'd ever walked. 12 hours, he agreed. We'll bring everyone we can. He turned to go, then stopped. For what it's worth, in human culture, what you did for Aisha is called compassion. It's considered one of our highest virtues. In my culture, Vexthara replied, it has no name, because until today it had no existence. Webb descended back into the bunker where Dr. Reeves was monitoring Aisha's vital signs and the others huddled in terrified hope. He explained what had happened above, the impossible offer, the 12-hour window. It's a trap, one of the civilians said immediately. She's gathering us in one place for easier extermination. But Aisha needs more medical care than we can provide down here. And if there are others like her out there, they need help too. Dr. Reeves looked up from her patient. I'll go. If they wanted us dead, we'd already be dead. And I can do more good with their medical equipment than hiding in this hole. One by one, the others agreed. Not because they trusted Vexthara, but because Webb and the doctor trusted enough to risk it. Because Aisha was sleeping peacefully for the first time in days. Because sometimes you have to choose between certain death and possible survival, and humans have never been good at lying down to die. They emerged into a transformed world. The Trillion had erected a full-field hospital, complete with scanning equipment and treatment pods. Alien medics stood awkwardly beside human doctors, communication software translating urgent medical jargon into clicking, whistling approximations. Aisha woke up in a proper hospital bed with monitoring equipment that would have been advanced even before the invasion. She looked around with wide eyes, then spotted Vexthara standing at the entrance to the medical tent. You're still here? The girl said. I'm still deciding, Vexthara replied. Oh, Aisha considered this with the same strange logic as before. Do you want to know what I think? Every human in earshot tensed. Vexthara tilted her head. What do you think, small human? I think you're lonely. Aisha's voice was clear, innocent, devastating. I think you've been alone for a really long time and you forgot what it feels like when someone says thank you. The tent went silent. Dr. Reeves froze mid-injection. Webb's hand drifted toward a weapon he wasn't carrying. Krell's mandibles stopped mid-click. Vexthara stood absolutely still for 3 full seconds. Then she walked to Aisha's bedside and knelt, bringing her massive frame down to the child's level. You are correct, she said quietly. I have been alone. Surrounded by armies, fleets, advisors, subjects. All of them alone with me. That's sad, Aisha said. My mom always said being alone is the worst thing. Worse than being scared or sick or anything. Your mother was wise. Where is she? The first bombs. She made sure I got to the shelter. She didn't make it. When she spoke, her voice carried harmonics the translator struggled with. Emotion, perhaps. Regret. I am sorry for your loss. Did you kill her? Every human held their breath. Vexthara could have lied, could have deflected, could have claimed the chaos of war made individual deaths untraceable. Yes, she said instead. My orders led to the bombardment that killed your mother. If there is blame, it rests with me, processing this with whatever logic 8-year-olds use to understand genocide. Okay? Vexthara's confusion was visible. You saved me anyway, even though I'm from the people you're trying to kill. Even though it doesn't make sense for you. Aisha's eyes were very bright. My mom would have liked that. She always said people should help people, even when it's hard. Your mother, Vexthara said carefully, raised a child who can forgive the person who killed her. That is either the greatest strength I've ever witnessed or the greatest foolishness. Probably both, Aisha said, echoing her earlier assessment of humanity. We're good at both. Vexthara stood, looked around the medical tent at the humans and Tyrillian working side by side, their fear overridden by necessity, their differences irrelevant in the face of suffering. Looked at Webb, who negotiated with insulin. At Dr. Reeves, teaching alien medics human anatomy. At Aisha, who'd forgiven her mother's killer. She activated her fleet-wide comm with an order that would change everything. All commanders, new directive. Tyrillian forces are to establish humanitarian aid stations in every occupied district. Provide medical care, food, and shelter to any human survivors. Offensive operations are suspended indefinitely. We are no longer conquerors. As of this moment, we are observers. The comics exploded with objections, questions, demands for clarification. Vexthara cut through them all with a single command frequency that only the highest-ranking officers could access. I am Supreme Commander. I have led you to victory across 300 worlds. I have never failed, never retreated, never shown weakness. Trust me now when I tell you that what I witnessed tonight is stronger than any weapon we possess. The humans have something we don't understand. Until we do, we will study them, protect them, and learn from them. Any officer who disagrees can challenge me directly. I will be in the Central District Medical Facility unarmed and unguarded for the next 12 hours. She cut the connection before anyone could respond. Looked at Crow, who was radiating every signal for distress the Tyrillian possessed. Majesty, you've just invited assassination. Yes. I have. Vexthara removed her plasma blades, her armor plating, every weapon except the one she was born with. Stood in the middle of the medical tent in basic combat dress, vulnerable for the first time in decades. If my own commanders think this decision is weakness, they can come kill me and resume the invasion. If they don't, then they're as curious as I am about what we found here. You're using yourself as bait. I'm using myself as a statement. There are rules in the Tyrillian Empire. One of them is that power flows to those strong enough to take it. I'm offering them the chance. If none do, I've proven this choice is strength. And if they do come, Vexthara's crest flared fully, a display of absolute confidence. Then they'll discover that a warlord without weapons is still a warlord, and I have 300 worlds of experience staying alive. The hours that followed were the strangest of Webb's life. Tyrillian soldiers arrived in shifts, bringing human survivors from across the city. The medical tent expanded, then split into multiple facilities. Alien and human medical personnel worked together with increasing efficiency, creating hybrid protocols that merged two species' knowledge. Vexthara stayed in the center of it all, directing resources, solving disputes, making decisions that saved lives instead of ending them. She was still a commander, still precise and demanding, and intolerant of inefficiency, but the targets of her commands had shifted. 3 times, high-ranking Tyrillian officers arrived, weapons ready to challenge her decision. Each time Vexthara faced them calmly, explained her reasoning, and offered them the choice: attack her or join the observation. Each time, after seeing the medical facilities, the cooperation, the sheer strangeness of enemies working together, they chose to observe. The 4th visitor was different. Admiral Crixton, commander of the orbital fleet, descended with a full honor guard. He was larger than Vexthara, older, scarred from 100 battles. His reputation for ruthlessness matched her own. Supreme Commander, he said formally, each syllable precise. You have violated every protocol that makes the Tyrillian Empire function. You have shown mercy to those who should be crushed. You have turned soldiers into nursemaids and warriors into scholars. Explain yourself. Vexthara met his gaze steadily. Or what, Admiral? You'll kill me? I've been standing here unarmed for 8 hours. You're late. I'm not here to kill you. Crixton's mandibles formed the Tyrillian equivalent of a bitter smile. I'm here because half my fleet wants to know if you've gone mad, and the other half wants to know if you've discovered something worth delaying our conquest. Which half do you belong to? The 3rd half, the one that remembers you've never been wrong before and wonders if you're about to break that pattern or continue it. Look and decide for yourself. Crixton did. Walked through the medical facilities, watched aliens and humans communicate through translation software in desperate necessity, saw the efficiency of merged protocols, observed a child teaching a Tyrillian medic how to pronounce her name. He returned to Vexthara an hour later. I don't understand what I'm seeing. That's why I'm still here. The Empire won't wait forever. The Council will demand answers. Other commanders will eventually challenge you. Let them. Vexthara's certainty was absolute. I have conquered 300 worlds by understanding what makes civilizations work. Every species has patterns, vulnerabilities, breaking points. The humans should have broken days ago. Instead, I find soldiers who negotiate with medicine and children who forgive their mother's killers. That's not weakness, Admiral. That's something we don't have a word for. And you think learning this word is worth suspending the conquest of an entire planet? I think, Vexthara said carefully, that we have conquered 300 worlds and ruled none of them successfully. Rebellions, insurgencies, resistance that lasts generations. We spend more resources holding worlds than we gain from taking them. What if the humans have discovered something that makes civilizations stable, something worth more than plasma and submission? Crixton was quiet for a long time. Finally, how long? 72 hours? 3 days? If I don't understand what makes them different by then, I'll resume standard protocols. And if you do understand, continue as we have for 300 worlds, or become something different. Vexthara looked toward where Aisha was sleeping peacefully surrounded by monitoring equipment that proved aliens and humans could collaborate. I've been a destroyer for so long I forgot there were other options. I'm remembering now. Crixton signaled to his honor guard. They departed without violence, without challenge, without any of the traditional responses to a commander showing possible weakness. Because Vexthara was right, they were curious too. Webb found her standing alone an hour later, watching dawn break over the ruined city. Your officers are standing down, he observed, for now. Curiosity is a temporary shield. Eventually they'll need answers. Will you have them? That depends on your species. Vexthara glanced at him. Explain mercy to me. Not the dictionary definition. The reality. Why save an enemy? Why help those who can't help you? Why choose difficult compassion over simple destruction? Webb considered. Because we're all broken. All of us. Different ways, different severities. But all damaged. Mercy is what you extend when you remember you've needed it too. I have never needed mercy. Haven't you? You conquered 300 worlds looking for something. Still looking. That sounds like a kind of brokenness to me. Vexthara's crest lowered. You're perceptive for prey. You're vulnerable for a predator. Webb matched her tone. We're both learning things we didn't expect. The next 72 hours became a study in transformation. Vexthara embedded herself into humanitarian operations, learning not just protocols but motivations. She watched humans share scarce resources, saw them prioritize children and elderly first, observed their elaborate social systems that protected the weak instead of culling them. She attended a memorial service for the dead, something Tyrillian culture had no equivalent for. Watched humans cry together, support each other, transform grief into solidarity. Aisha spoke about her mother, and Vexthara listened to an 8-year-old describe love in terms that made warriors weep. On the third day, as the 72-hour deadline approached, Vexthara called a council of war. Every Tyrillian commander attended, either in person or via hologram. The medical facilities continued operating outside while inside, an empire decided its future. I have observed the humans for 3 days, Vexthara began. I have identified what makes them different from the 300 species we have conquered. The council leaned forward. This was what they'd been waiting for. The secret, the weakness, the breaking point. They cooperate beyond kinship bonds. They extend protection to those who cannot reciprocate. They create systems that deliberately support their weakest members. They sacrifice efficiency for inclusion. They choose compassion when logic demands elimination. Weakness, Admiral Crixton observed. All of them. But consider the result. Their cities contain millions of individuals working in coordination despite minimal genetic relation. Their scientific advancement comes from knowledge sharing that crosses all social boundaries. Their military forces fight with greater determination because they're protecting specific others, not abstract territory. Vexthara activated a display showing Tyrillian-occupied worlds. Now consider our conquered territories.
Rebellions on 87 worlds. Active insurgencies on 142.
Complete submission on only 71. We spend 60% of our military force holding what we've taken instead of expanding further.
Why?
Silence. Then General Vaskthar, oldest of the commanders. Because we rule through fear. Fear fades. Requires constant reinforcement. The humans rule through something else. Something they call compassion, mercy, solidarity. These forces don't fade. They strengthen over time. They create stable civilizations that grow instead of fragment. You're suggesting, Crixton said slowly, that we adopt human weakness as Tyrillian strength. I'm suggesting we've defined strength incorrectly. A civilization that conquers 300 worlds but holds none successfully is not strong. It's trapped in an endless cycle of violence that serves no purpose beyond its own continuation. Vexthara let them argue for 5 minutes, then slammed all 4 hands on the table with enough force to crack the metal. I am Supreme Commander. I have led you further than any leader in Tyrillian history. You've trusted my judgment through 300 campaigns. Trust it now. She stood her full height, imposing even among her own species. I propose a new protocol. This world becomes the first Tyrillian protectorate, not conquest. We establish permanent aid stations, medical facilities, educational centers. We protect the humans instead of subjugating them, and we learn from them how to build civilizations that last. Madness, someone whispered. Genius, someone else countered. Untested, Admiral Crixton said firmly. Supreme Commander, your logic is sound, but your evidence is limited. 3 days observation of one species under extreme conditions. This is not sufficient data for such a radical transformation.
Vexthara had expected this.
Then we test it. 1 world, 1 year. We maintain this planet as protectorate status. We continue humanitarian operations. We observe the results. If the humans prove treacherous, if mercy proves weakness, if this experiment fails, we can resume standard conquest protocols. 1 year. Prove me wrong or prove me right. The council argued for 3 more hours. Vexthara let them, watching Webb through the window as he coordinated supply distribution with Tyrillian logistics officers, seeing the impossible cooperation that should not exist but did. Finally, Admiral Crixton stood. I propose a vote. All commanders in favor of the Supreme Commander's experimental protocol signal affirmative. The vote was not unanimous. Nearly 40% opposed. But 60%, swayed by Vexthara's logic or their own curiosity or simple trust in a commander who'd never failed, voted to approve. 1 year, Crixton announced. Earth becomes the first Tyrillian protectorate. Standard conquest suspended. Humanitarian operations continue. All commanders will observe and report findings. In 1 year, we reconvene and assess results. Vexthara felt something in her chest cavity shift again. Not relief. Not quite. Recognition, perhaps? That choosing differently felt like choosing rightly. She found Aisha later, the girl now healthy and energetic, teaching a Tyrillian medic how to play a human game involving colored stones and increasingly complex rules. We're staying, Vexthara told her, not as conquerors, as protectors. Aisha looked up, smiled with the easy forgiveness of children. I knew you would. You're not really mean. You're just lonely and forgot how to be anything else. You're very wise for someone so small. My mom always said that too, Aisha paused. She would have liked you, I think. Once you stopped bombing us. Vexthara felt her mandibles form something that might have been a smile. I think I would have liked her too. She raised a child who can teach mercy to monsters. You're not a monster. Monsters don't change their minds. Such simple words. Such impossible weight. Vexthara stood to leave, then paused. Aisha. When you thanked me for saving you, that was the first time in 300 worlds anyone thanked me for anything. Did you know that? That's sad, Aisha said, echoing her earlier assessment. Everyone should be thanked sometimes. It makes you feel like you matter. It does. Vexthara walked out into the morning light, where her empire was learning to build instead of destroy, to protect instead of conquer, to choose mercy over expedience. It was inefficient, illogical, contrary to everything that had brought the Tyrillian to dominance. It felt right anyway. Webb approached, cautious but hopeful. Your commanders approved it? We'll see if mercy is sustainable or just temporary madness. And you? What do you think? Vexthara looked at the medical facilities, the supply lines, the 100 small acts of cooperation between species that should have been enemies. Looked at the future spreading before her like an uncharted star system. I think, she said carefully, that I came to destroy and found something worth protecting instead. I think a child with diabetes taught me more about strength than 300 conquered worlds. I think mercy might be the most dangerous weapon in the universe, because it transforms enemies into something else entirely. Into what? I don't know yet. That's what we have a year to discover. They stood together watching the sunrise, alien and human, destroyer and defender, warlord and soldier, finding common ground in the ruins of certainty. Behind them, Aisha laughed at something the Tyrillian medic said, the sound bright and clear and impossibly resilient. Ahead of them, an empire learned to choose differently. And in the space between what was and what might be, Mercy planted roots in stone and grew toward light that had been obscured for 300 worlds but never truly extinguished. Vexthera had come to conquer. She had stayed to learn. She would remain to protect. Because sometimes the strongest choice is the one that makes no strategic sense. Sometimes mercy is not weakness but courage in its purest form. Sometimes a queen needs to be reminded by a child that being alone is the worst thing. Worse than fear or uncertainty, or the terrifying vulnerability of choosing compassion. The night was over. The decision made. The future uncertain but no longer empty. And for the first time in longer than she could remember, Vexthara, supreme commander of the Trillion Armada, destroyer of 300 worlds, felt something that might have been hope. Human hope. Stubborn and unreasonable and absolutely refusing to die. She decided she liked it.